Speaking of Love, Kevin Love underwent arthroscopic knee surgery on his left knee and is expected to miss 6 weeks. With Kevin Love out for the next month and a half, reporters asked LeBron at practice if he would have to step up with Love being out. LeBron said he never stepped down. Without Love, LeBron and the Cavs still beat the Timberwolves despite Andrew Wiggins scoring 14 points. King James, what's on your mind?
Listen, I'm their leader, I'm their commander, and it's up to me to set the tempo and set the pace every single day, set the example every day. And it sucks for us right now having two of our, our guys out, and that's JR and also Kev. But I got to make sure these guys is locked in and focused because nobody's gonna feel sorry for us. And like I said, if I'm in the lineup, we got a chance. We always got a chance every night, and I'm gonna get these guys mentally focused every night.
No Love, Stephen A. How worried do you think LeBron really is?
I think he's significantly worried, but I don't think he's worried about himself. So LeBron, what I love about the quote, Max, is that LeBron James made it very, very clear. I ain't worried about me. I ain't never stepped down. I don't need to step up. I'm coming ready every single night. And there's no doubt that he is because he's the greatest player in the world. We get that. When I said weeks ago that he was scared, when I alluded to him being worried, when I'm talking about him being worried now, I'm not talking about worried about himself. I'm talking about him worried about the rest of the troops around him and whether or not they're going to measure up to snuff when it comes time for that NBA Finals. And by the way, just as an aside, the Toronto Raptors picking up Serge Ibaka yesterday, that makes things very, very interesting in the East. It doesn't mean that Cleveland is not the favorites. It doesn't mean that Cleveland won't win. But their road to the title has gotten a little bit harder now. Let's not ignore that. Washington's coming. You can't ignore Washington. You can't ignore Boston. And now you can't ignore the Toronto Raptors. But back to Cleveland, Max, it comes down to this. If you're LeBron James, you're thinking about one thing and one thing only, June. And who's going to be there. And we all believe it to be the Golden State Warriors. And in his heart of hearts, he believes it to be the Golden State Warriors. The Houston Rockets are not good enough. They got a superstar in James Harden, good shooters around him, could be a threat, but they're not better than the Warriors. And San Antonio, as well old as they are, they're a bit slow. You're thinking about Golden State. You're looking at KD, and you're saying, do we measure up? And without Love, first of all, with Love, you had question marks about it. Now, without Love, definitely a huge question mark. I think LeBron is worried, and I think you'll hear about him talking to folks and saying, now more so than ever, we need to emphasize getting Carmelo Anthony.
I don't think he's more worried than he was before Kevin Love went out, because Kevin Love is going to be back with a little time to spare in the regular season, most likely. And guess what? He'll be rested, as will J.R. Smith, who's being evaluated very soon, and he originally was supposed to be back in, like, March.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, maybe, let's see, maybe a little bit sooner, even if it isn't a little bit sooner, he will also be back, in addition to picking up Korver. They get J.R. Smith back, also rested. So actually, the effect of this is that you have key pieces to your team that helped you win a championship last year coming back in time to defend the title, and they will be rested. And you're really looking at the Warriors. Are they going to lose in the East? As you mentioned, Serge Ibaka, Toronto got better, Boston's good. The Wizards have been playing very, very well, and John Wall is probably the most talented guard who's not on the Cavs in the East. But none of those teams are going to beat the Cavs. None of them are going to beat Cleveland and LeBron. Every once in a blue moon, a powerhouse team with MVP caliber players like the Lakers in 04 will get upset by a team that's put together just the right way like the Pistons in 04. But I don't see that team in the East, and I don't see this Cavs team as complacent. I don't think LeBron is worried based on this injury.
Couple of things. And you know what? This is where you being the young buck that you are.
You guys are like 2 years apart.
The elder statesman, statesman. Would you stop it, Molly? Would you stop it, Mollywood, please, and let me talk to
go
Max?
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Here's the deal. You got to remember 80s. Remember when the Nets upset Dr. J. Julius Erving? It happened. Remember when the Red Sox came back from 3-0, beat the Yankees? It happened. Remember when the Los Angeles Lakers lost to Ralph Sampson and the Houston Rockets with that catch and tip in or whatever it is, the alley-oop, finger roll in it at the last possible second.
Rockets,
these kind of things happen. So what I'm saying to you is that in the sport of basketball, it's not even, I get your point about the upset, because I'm not assuming LeBron James is going to allow the Cleveland Cavaliers to be upset. But the point that I think that you need to pay attention to more so than anything else is the road to the finals, not the finals.
A little rougher.
Because if it's a little rougher, the more it takes out of them, the more endangered they are. That's why when you think about an injury to Love, when you think about an injury to JR, even though they're going to come back speculating in March or whatever the case may be, if you don't figure out a way, now I am in support of LeBron James sitting down and getting some rest and not leading the league in minutes played and all of this other stuff, because now that he's going to have to carry even more of a load, you got to make sure he's fresh for that postseason run. And the more work, Max, he's got to put in, the more trouble.
I thought Ty Lue should have been sitting LeBron long ago and decreasing his minutes. And I think the same thing should have been done with Kyrie and Kevin Love, to tell you the truth. But again, you are getting probably, by the time the playoffs start, at least by the second round, you're probably getting the best rested version of Kevin Love. And as far as the Warriors go, you could say, well, it's a rougher road, and that maybe takes a little bit out of you, and that slightly decreases their chances. But actually, the West is still tougher than the East. The Warriors still have tougher sledding than the Cavs do. And even on neutral, if everything was neutral and neither one had to play any other teams, Warriors are going to be favored anyway. They got more firepower. It would be an upset for the Cavs to defend their title, period. So what gives them the best chance? Actually, if I could draw it up, I might say, well, you need LeBron because you need to win games. He can't miss 6 weeks because all of a sudden maybe you fall to the bottom half of the playoff seeding. But ideally it would be you have your big three, one or two of them will get a nice long rest. That's what's happening.
Let's not forget, Max, Eastern Conference Finals. I had to cover it. Now, Toronto's a phenomenal city. It's rough getting there, but once you get there, it's very, very international. I mean, there's no question. But the point that I'm trying to make, because I digress, the point that I'm trying to make to you is that they were down 2-0. They came back, tied it up 2-2. It would have been easier. Now, it ultimately ended up not hurting the Cavs. But at the same time, if you got 2 games with Bismarck Biyombo, who's now in Orlando, Valanciunas was out, and it's really DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, okay? Well, then now that you got a Serge Ibaka, now you got Isaiah Thomas playing lights out in Boston, and they're up and coming, and they really, really look special. Now that you've got the Washington Wizards, Scott Brooks is doing a hell of a job with them. So is John Wall.
Who will be with us Friday.
Who will be with us Friday. When you look at what's going on right now, of course, I believe Cleveland's coming out of the East. But the road to the finals this year might be tougher than last year's was.
Probably will be.
Things just got a little more interesting, potentially at the Cavs' expense. That's why I pose this next subject.